4 stories beneath the earth, behind 4-ton blast doors, a secret underground city was built to survive a nuclear apocalypse. Today, we're stepping inside the fortress designed to run a country after the end of the world. Topic 1. Project Ease and Cold War Atomic Paranoia. Getting a handle on the tense atmosphere of the late 1950s helps us understand just how far a nation will go in the name of survival and security. Back in those turbulent Cold War years, the threat of an imminent nuclear conflict pushed the Canadian government to greenlight an unprecedented structure under total military secrecy. Man, oh man, under the codename Project Ease, the machine started quietly digging into the rural landscape of Carp, Ontario, far from prying public eyes. Here's the plain truth. Building an impenetrable refuge took a lot more than just concrete. It took the strategic foresight to plan for the worst-case scenario. Wow, that proactive mindset of seeing storms coming and building solid defenses before disaster hits teaches us something powerful. And it lines up perfectly with what Napoleon Hill preached about the importance of getting ahead of the game. Sitting back and hoping things work themselves out is a surefire recipe for personal and financial failure. If you want to put that same strategic protection mindset to work in your own life, grab a copy of Principles for Navigating Big Debt Crises by Ray Dalio, and start building yourself an emergency fund worth at least 6 months of living expenses today. Having that solid foundation laid down ahead of time is the real secret to keeping your cool when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. Here's the kicker. This facility wasn't dreamed up as some temporary shelter. It was meant to be the beating heart of an entire country in the event of nuclear war. Every last detail of that underground build was engineered to keep the government running even if the capital, Ottawa, got wiped off the map by enemy missiles. And as this massive structure started taking shape underground, military engineers found themselves facing a whole new challenge, turning that pit into a genuine self-sufficient city. Topic 2. The engineering of survival and the concrete city. Building a genuine 4-story fortress buried in the ground called for engineering solutions that were, frankly, unbelievable for the time. Man, oh man. To withstand the shockwave and devastating radiation from a bomb as powerful as 5 megatons. Engineers poured in thousands of tons of reinforced concrete and thick steel beams. Here's the plain truth. The main entrance was protected by an L-shaped tunnel, specifically designed to absorb the force of a blast before it ever reached the massive 4-ton blast doors. Wow, that obsessive attention to the foundation and every layer of protection teaches us something about building solid structures in our own lives too. Something Napoleon Hill was always big on when he talked about creating an unshakable base for success. There's no point building something big if the foundation underneath is weak and can't handle the pressure life inevitably throws at it. Want to apply that same resilience to your daily routine? Pick up Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb and diversify your sources of knowledge and income, so no curveball can knock down what took you years to build. Strengthening your foundation is what gets you through the uncertainty. Here's the kicker. The inside of the bunker was designed to run like a fully self-sufficient city, sitting dozens of meters below the surface. With massive diesel generators, cutting-edge air filtration systems, huge food reserves, and even its own radio studio for emergency broadcasts. The facility could house over 500 people for 30 days with zero contact with the outside world. But when that emergency alarm finally sounded, the toughest question wouldn't be whether the machines worked. It would be who actually got to walk through those doors. Topic 3. The Chosen Few and the Doomsday Protocols. Deciding who got the privilege of shelter inside that concrete mountain showed just how cold and calculated military emergency planning really was. Man, oh man, clearance to pass through those heavy steel doors was strictly reserved for the Prime Minister, essential cabinet ministers, top military brass, and key communications technicians. Here's the plain truth. There was no room for family members, spouses, or everyday citizens. Every single spot was accounted for and reserved solely to keep the essential functions of the state running through the post-apocalyptic chaos. Wow! That harsh reality forces us to think about how important it is to set clear priorities and make tough calls in moments of extreme crisis, something Napoleon Hill always emphasized when he talked about laser focus and smart resource management in the pursuit of big goals. Letting your emotions run the show during a crisis is usually the fastest way to sink the whole ship. If you want to build that same cool-headed, pragmatic decision-making into your everyday life, check out Essentialism by Greg McKeown and get in the habit of cutting the unnecessary stuff out of your routine so you can focus on what actually matters. Learning to choose ruthlessly is the key to protecting your future. Here's the kicker. The bunker's protocols were built so the country could keep being governed from the shadows, holding on to national sovereignty even if the major cities up top were reduced to rubble. Daily life inside that underground capsule included coded communication drills and strict rationing routines, turning the place into a monument to determination and pragmatism in the face of the nuclear threat. But as global geopolitical tensions started shifting in the decades that followed, the fate of that mysterious Forbidden City took a surprising turn. Topic 4. Powering down the giant and the lessons of history. With the end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, that underground giant's military usefulness started fading fast. Man, oh man, back in 1994, after more than 3 decades on constant standby, the government officially decommissioned the Karp military facility. Here's the plain truth. This place, which had spent so long wrapped in total secrecy and atomic paranoia, ended up throwing open its heavy steel doors to the public and became a respected living history museum. Wow! That transformation from a wartime fortress into a place of learning teaches us something powerful about our ability to reframe our biggest fears and challenges. Right in line with Napoleon Hill's famous line that every adversity carries the seed of an equal benefit. The knowledge gathered during our darkest chapters can become the lantern that lights the way for generations to come. Want to bring that same growth mindset into your day-to-day life? Read Mindset by Carol Dweck and get into the habit of jotting down the lessons you learn every time you get through an obstacle. Turning tough experiences into real wisdom is the true mark of maturity. Here's the kicker. Walking through the quiet halls of that underground city today is an unforgettable experience that connects us directly to just how fragile global peace really is and to the sheer strength of the human survival instinct. The bunker still stands as a living reminder of how far preparation and resilience can take us in the face of unimaginable threats. And it's exactly by reflecting on this monumental piece of our past that we're pushed to think about how we're building our own defenses and strategies for the challenges we face today. Conclusion. Faced with the secrets and the jaw-dropping engineering behind this underground city, the question worth asking is, how long are you going to wait for the storm to hit before you start building your own defenses? This incredible story from our past proves that real security and lasting success don't happen by accident. They come from careful planning, resilience, and the courage to make tough calls before the worst actually happens. So, what are you going to do today to protect your future, face your biggest challenges head-on, and build a mindset that can't be shaken? If this deep dive into the Cold War taught you something valuable, don't wait around. Hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications so you never miss the next fascinating mystery from our country's history.